I am Akansha P.S. Vishwakarma, Assistant Professor at Index Institute of Pharmacy, Malvanchal University, Indore, Madhya Pradesh. Listening. Listening is the most important communication skill. We probably spend more time using our listening skills than any other kind of skills. Like other skills, listening takes practice. Real listening is an active process. Listening requires attention. Now, affective listening. Affective listening is the process of analyzing sounds, organizing them into recognizable patterns, interpreting the patterns, and understanding the message by inferring the meaning. Many of the problems we experience with people in our daily lives are primarily attributable to ineffective listening or lack of listening. Now, listening comes first. The first and the foremost communication skill that we learn in our lives is nothing but listening. Listening, then speaking, then reading, then writing. Listening is not hearing. According to the Elmhurst College Learning Center, listening and hearing are not the same. Hearing is the first stage of listening. Hearing occurs when our ears pick up sounds waves which are then transported to our brain. This stage is our sense of hearing. Listening is a communication process, and to be successful is an active process. In other words, we must be an active participant in this communication process. In active listening, meaning and evolution of a message must take plays before a listener can respond to speaker. Therefore, the listener is actively working while the speaker is talking. Therefore, the listener is actively working while the speaker is talking. How can this happen? It is simple. Our thought speed is much faster than our speech speed. But the careful, but be careful, don't allow the thought speed to race into daydreaming. This habit will defeat our attempt to become an active listener. Now, basic communication skills profile. Communication, order learned, extent use, extent thought. First, listening, order learned first, extent word first, extent thought fourth. Communication, speaking, order learned second, extent used second, extent thought third. Communication, reading, order learned third, extent word third, extent thought second. Communication, writing, order learned fourth, extent word fourth, extent thought first. Now, fallacies about listening. First, listening is not my problem. Second, listening and hearing are the same. Third, good readers are good listeners. Fourth, smarter people are better listeners. Fifth, listening improves with age. Sixth, listening skills are difficult to learn. Now, objectives of listening. First, to learn. Second, to increase one's understanding. Third, to adhesive or counsel. Fourth, to relieve one's boredom listening to music. Now, research findings. One quarter of our waking time is spent in listening. Research shows that at the workplace, on an average, personnel spends about 32.7% of their time listening, 25 to 8% of their time speaking, 22.6% of their time writing. Effective listening is the most crucial skill for becoming a successful manager. It requires pay attention, interpreting and remembering sound stimuli. Now, importance of listening. Communication is not complete without effective listening. Second, an attentive listener stimulates better speaking by speaker. Third, a good listener learns more than an indifferent listener. Fourth, a good listener can restructure vague speaking in a way that produces clearer meaning. A, a good listener learns to detect prejudice, assumption, and attitudes. Now, real listening. Real listening has three basic steps. First, hearing. Second, understanding. Third, judging. Now, first, hearing. Hearing just means listening enough to gauge what the speaker is saying. For an example, say you were listening to a report on zebras and the speaker mentioned that not two are alike. If you can repeat the fact, then you have heard what has been said. Now, second, understanding. The next part of listening happens when you take what you have heard and understand it in your own ways. Let's go back to that report on zebras. When you hear that no two are alike, think about what that might mean. You might think maybe this means that the pattern of stripes is different for each zebras. Now third, judging. After you are sure that you have understood what the speaker has said, think about whether it makes sense. Do you believe what you have heard? You might think, how could the strips be different for every zebra? But then again, the fingerprints are different for every person. I think this seems believable. Now, active listening process. The step in active listening process are: first, hearing; second, filtering; third, comprehending; fourth, remembering; fifth, responding. Now, first step, hearing. Hearing is the first essential step in the listening process and relates to the sensory perception of sound. The listener further processes the perceived sound. For learning to be effective, hearing needs to be done with atten- attentiveness and concentration. Now, second, filtering. The next step involves sensing and filtering of heard sounds. The heard message is categorized as wanted or unwanted. The wanted message is discards. The sense of judging of the individual comes into play. That is, the filtering process is subjective and a person chooses to retain what makes sense to him. Now, third, comprehending. The listener understands what the speaker has tried to convey. This activity can be described as absorbing, grasping, or assimilating. The listener uses his knowledge, experience, perception, and conjugative power. Now, fourth, remembering. The eliminated message is stored in memory to facilitate further recalls. Now, fifth, responding. Responding to a message takes place at the end of the communication, immediately after or later, to show that the message is being received with comprehended. Now, types of listening. Discriminative listening. It involves identifying the difference between various sounds. It also enables one to differentiate between familiar and unfamiliar language. Now, second, comprehension listening. It involves attaching meaning to what is being listened to. It may also include comprehending the non-verbal verbal message being conveyed by the speaker. Third, evaluative listening. It involves evaluating and analyzing the message being received. It involves judging the accept- acceptably of what is said depending on how logical one finds it to be. Now, types of listenings. Attentive listening. It involves paying attention to the words that are being spoken. Second, pretense listening. It involves more hearing than listening. It means pretending through facial expression that one is listening when actually one is not. Selective listening. It involves selecting the desired part of the message and ignoring the undesired part of the message. Intuitive listening. It means listening through the intuitive mind by silencing the other form of internal dialogues going on simultaneously. Barrier to effective listening. Physical barrier, pupil related barrier, physiological barrier, psychological barrier. Now, physical barriers. First, noise, poor acoustics, defective mechanical device, frequent interruption, uncomfortable seating arrangement, uncomfortable environment, message overload. Now, physiological barriers. State of health. State of health of the listener and the speaker affects the listening ability. Like fever, pain, or any other form of bodily discomfort makes it difficult for a person to listen or speak comfortably. Disability. Hearing deficiencies may lead to poor listening. Similarly, speech disorder of the speaker may make a speech incoherent to the listener. Speaker accent may also make it difficult for the listener to comprehend. Now, wandering attention. Human mind can process word at the rate of about 500 per minute, whereas a speaker speaks at the rate of about 150 per minute. The difference between the two leaves the listener with sufficient time to let his mind wander. Physiological barriers. Being unsure of the speaker ability based on past experience or input from sources, the listener may have a preconceived notation of the speaker ability. He may perceive the speaker to not be well informed or to be lacking in depth and ability. Hence, the listener will not listen to what the speaker has to say. Personal anxiety. Sometimes the listener is preoccupied with personal concern and anxieties. This makes it difficult to perceive what is being said by the speaker. Now, attitude. The listener may be highly egocentric with a know it all attitude and may not listen as he feels that he already knows what the listener has to say. Now, psychological barriers. Impatience. The listener may not have patience to wait for the other person to finish what he has to say. He may be intolerant or may be eager to add his own points to the discussion. As a result, his desire to speak overcomes his desire to listen, thus acting as a barrier. Now, emotional blocks. Our deep seated beliefs in certain ideas may make it difficult for us to listen to ideas which go against our belief. We may hear such an idea wrongly or it may get distorted in our mind to match our perception, or we may completely block it off by not listening to it. Many a time we block something off completely because of painful memories associated with it. Now, tips for being a good listener. Keep your full attention on the person who is speaking. Don't look out the window or at what else is going on in the room. Make sure your mind is focused. It can be easy to let your mind wander if you think you know what this person is going to say next, but you might be wrong. If you feel your mind wandering, change the position of your body and try to concentrate on the speaker's word. Third, let the speaker finish before you begin to talk. Speakers straight having the chance to say everything they would like to say without being interpreted. When you interpret, it look like you are not listening even if you are really are. Let yourself finish listening before you begin to speak. You can't really listen if you are busy thinking about what you want to say next. Listen for main ideas. The main ideas are the most important point the speaker want to get across. They may be mentioned at the start or end of a talk and repeated a number of times. Pay special attention to statement that being with perhaps as my point is, or the thing to remember is ask question. If you are not sure you understood what the speaker has said, just ask for an example. You might say, when you said that no two zebras are alike, did you mean that the strips are different on other one? Thank you.